Chondro Corner where we rise and grow. Twist and turn, let the passion flow. Chondro Corner, watch the future shine. Every scale a story, one of a kind.
From the shadows we move, striking out bright. In every twist we find the light. Breeding the best, gotta have patience in this game. Chondro Corner where we make our name. Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner. Chondro Corner where we rise and grow. Twist and turn, let the passion flow. Chondro Corner, watch the future shine. Every scale a story, one of a kind.
What it do, Chondro fam, Chondro heads, man. Hey, tonight we got another legend in the building. He been doing it 20 plus years, so I had to bring him on. He dialed back for a little bit, but we're gonna see what he doing. Right now we're gonna see what he doing in the limelight. But first, gotta pay homage to the house. Know what I'm saying? So every Monday we have the Chondro Corner. Every Tuesday we have the Retic Rundown. And then following up, we have the Molt on that Tuesday night as well. Then we have the Grow House on Wednesday, Clutch Conversations on Thursday, Double Clutch on Saturday. Then you got to finish the weekend off with Morph Map. Make sure y'all tune in, hit that smash button, share it out to everyone that you know. Then we got Hey man, shout out to Jordan Harlan Reptiles. Hey, it was good seeing you last week or week before last at Bill Party and at the NARBC Dallas. Hey man, if y'all ain't come out to the Bill Party, y'all miss a lot of good people there, man. It was just good vibes all around. I think it was at least 100 people there. That's what I want to say. But yeah, it was good vibes, good eatery, catery, everything. Bill, thank you again for inviting me. But we finna go ahead and tune in. Bring the guests out in a little bit. Y'all see, I was feeding a little bit, man. A little while ago, got stuff up there. Anyways, I ain't been doing nothing. Just got back in town last weekend. Well, yeah, last weekend, because the week before I was in Dallas for the NARBC. Then weekend before that, I was in Atlanta for I was in Atlanta for Show Me Show. Yeah, in Atlanta. So it was a lot of driving around, a lot of traveling I've been doing. So I just been dealing with just growing the chondros up as usual. Probably probably acquire about one or two more this year, and then that's it for the year. And then I'll probably close off my collection and just grow up what I have and produce with what I have, honestly. But first, before we bring out the guests, let's see who was in the house, man. Let's see who in the house. Oh, myself, you know what I'm saying? Thank y'all for being here, man. It really truly means a lot that y'all here. Then we got my PIC Jen. What it do? Looking for a good follow. Yeah, for sure. Then got my boy Big Mike. What up, man? Then got my boy Vance Dead, man. What's going on, man? How you doing? How you feeling? And who else we got? Tommy. What it do, man? Hey, shout out to Tommy. He created a app or website that us fellow chondro heads can come around and just talk. Honestly, we just talk every Thursday night about chondros and what's going on in the chondro community. Then we got my boy Adrian. Hey, shout out to Adrian. He have some enclosures that he building himself. Hey man, tune in with him. Maybe he'll show you how to build a chondro. Not chondro, how to build an enclosure yourself. Daniel, what's going on? What's going on, man? Who else we got in the building? My boy Santos. What it do, Santos? How you doing, man? Oh snap! Hey man, we got the legend, Levance. What's going on? What's going on, Levance? How you doing, brother? But first and foremost, let's go ahead and bring out the guests, man. What's going on, Tom? Tim, my bad, Tim. How you
It's all
doing?
good. How's it going?
Oh yeah, everything is great. Everything is great, man. Just like I said, it's a beautiful, beautiful Monday night. The weather feeling good out here, North Carolina.
Nice.
How you doing?
Doing good, man. Weather's good up here in Maryland as well.
Hmm. Oh, it's gonna get cold soon, huh? In a few weeks.
Well, hopefully not that soon, but I'm sure at some point. But it's been pretty nice.
Hmm. Nice, nice. So if you want to give everybody like a short bio real quick of yourself, you know, where you're from, how you got into animals and breeding.
Well, I mean, I guess my first herp experiences would have been when I was in middle school.
Hmm.
We moved to this new town called Columbia, and they had a lot of open space, a lot of places to go out and roam around the woods. So that's what we did. And we were looking for just about anything, but of course, snakes always seem to pique our interest. They seem to be the hardest to find, and when you did find them, there was such a big thrill. And then, always kind of kept things off and on through middle school, high school, just like one or two things here or there.
Hmm.
Nothing major. A lot of several pet store animals that just kind of up and died. They probably were just, field collected and already on death's door before, I bought them out of a pet shop back in the, late 70s. And then I guess,
How were pet stores back then? Was it like a big collection? Did they have like a wide variety?
it depends, I guess. Main things were like, field caught garter snakes, green snakes, things those are the only two main animals I remember seeing. I'm sure there were more,
Hmm. Okay.
but there just wasn't much information on how to keep them. And yeah. So,
Okay.
and then in the early 90s, around 90, I guess 89, 90, kind of got back into it. Discovered a pet store not too far from here, from where I live, that they mainly specialized in hand-raised birds, like cockatoos and parrots and such.
Hmm.
But they also had a very specialized reptile area. And so they had some cool stuff there that I'd never seen before. And so I wound up picking up a few things there. One was a male emerald tree boa northern that actually did quite well. Through that pet store is how I met Pete Call, who was a big, big breeder of albino boas and piebalds and everything. So, wound up, connecting with him through that pet store, and then through there, I was back in college at this point.
Where did you attend college at?
I was at Towson University
Hmm.
up in Baltimore.
Okay.
So there was a really awesome book, I guess, that was published, I guess, in the late 90s in one version, and then around, I guess, 90, 91 in the second version called The Reproductive Husbandry of Boas and Pythons. And that, I think, still is considered by many to be, sort of the Bible.
Yeah.
One of the foundational pieces of, keeping and breeding, snakes. And so through that, I became really interested in green tree pythons. I think what drew me were, mainly the babies, being different colors and then changing, into adult colors as they grow older.
Hmm.
And then, of course, in that same book, there were several photo credits given to this guy, Trooper Walsh, who worked down at National Zoo. And National Zoo is about, 40 minutes from my house. So we made a trip down there, my nephew and I. It's a pretty famous story I've told many times. We went down there basically looking for, this so-called Trooper Walsh, and that was kind of a comical time because, you just go into the reptile house there. It's like a big oval, and we made I don't know how many laps, and just waiting for somebody who worked at the zoo to kind of pop out. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so we were down at this far end where they have several indoor enclosures of Cuban crocs and false gharials, and they also have like a service door to the right and a service door to the left and you could literally walk out of one and straight across to the other, right across where the indoor croc enclosures were. Anyway, my nephew and I, we were down there and checking out stuff, and then all of a sudden, to our right, the door opened up, and this kind of big hulking guy walked out carrying a bucket. It was like the middle of winter time, or at least late winter, and he had khaki shirt, khaki shorts, walking around in bare feet. And I just happened to catch a glimpse of his name tag as he walked past us. And
just raw dog in there, just with no shoes, nothing.
Yeah, pretty much, right? And so, it caught the tag and said Trooper, and no sooner that I figured that out, he had gone in the door on the left-hand side. So my nephew and I were both looking at each other like, all right, which one of us is going to step up and knock on this door, And I can't remember which one of us actually did, and then when he answered the door, it was kind of funny because it was almost like the old, there was an old TV show back in the day called The Addams Family, and they had this butler named Lurch.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah. And almost like Lurch would answer the door, right? It would just crack the door open and this face would just come between the crack, And he was like, and I just remember him saying to us, he was like, "Can I help you guys?" And I don't think either Sean or my nephew, had any words to put together, and somehow we managed to get him to open the door wider. He actually invited us in. He was actually quite cordial. He was talking to us a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Sean was doing most of the talking. Meanwhile, I was staring down this long line, which was behind the scenes of, the exhibit enclosures on one side, and then all these, white tubs and a few aquariums and a few other miscellaneous things down the other wall. And I just knew there was where, some of these green trees were that he kept. And so anyway, we wound up talking to him, I guess, for maybe a half an hour or so. And I don't really remember beyond that, like, how the follow-up occurred. I think what happened was that summer, I learned about a volunteer program at the National Zoo. So I signed up for that and became a volunteer at the Herp House down there. And I think through that is when I got to know him a little bit better. And then over the years, we've become very good friends. And, I still see him probably once a month.
Great.
But through that is where I kind of acquired, the first green tree pythons. And, the first pair I acquired from him in '92, and didn't know if they were. Yeah. Well, I didn't know if they were actually a pair, right? So, and it turns out they were, but they all were also siblings. They were litter mates. And about a year and a half later, I talked him into trading one of the animals I had for, a different, it was a female that I traded back to him for a female from a different, bloodline, which happened to be, I guess the Tim Morris blue female, which was a litter mate to Joan Collins and to Powder, which were two, famously blue anchors, I guess, to the blue line. And so, and they were the only two chondros I had. So I kind of lucked out in breeding them. And then, of course, that first litter that hatched out in April of '96, among the 17 that I hatched out of that litter, one of them became Mr. Blue and sort of became, I guess, what I was, became known for.
Right. So, like, during that time, like, what were you looking for? Like, what did you want to produce? You just wanted just to produce some green trees, or was you looking for more of the green book?
Well, honestly, back at that point in time, I was just looking to buy something from him. I knew he had a history with these animals. I didn't quite know how far back that went at the time. The so-called blue line stuff wasn't even invented back then. Mr. Blue was the first, I guess, super blue, animal. Trooper, told me way back when. So my wife at the time and we had this sort of competing visions of the first green trees that we wanted to get in terms of the neonate colors. She loved the yellow ones, and I liked the maroon ones. And at that time, I didn't know anything about the fact that the maroon ones seemed to be the ones that, more often than not morph into the, multicolor, the calico, the blues and such. And,
Right.
we didn't know any of that back then, but through discussions with Trooper, I remember him telling me that, the animals that he used to hold back, he would hold back. He liked the maroon ones, and the darker the better. And so those were some of the, I guess, earlier animals he tended to hold back, I guess, in the late 70s, maybe throughout the 80s, and started establishing some lines. But like I said, the whole blue thing really wasn't well known. What was well known back then was the old Yeller line, which was almost like a, well, we called it a Biak outcross line. Now, Trooper recently told me that the founding female, which to me looks a lot like, what you would associate as a Biak, he said that was not verified, you know what I mean? But that particular litter he had bred at the zoo, and it threw out all kinds of crazy multicolored animals, high, yellow with white and blue and such. The one litter that I had some pictures from, the animals that I took pictures of, I would have taken any one of those.
Yeah. Trying to bring up, I think this Mr. Blue right here. I was bringing it up, my bad.
Yeah. Yeah, so that
Sheesh.
was that was Mr. Blue. I believe that picture, he was hatched in 96 of April. And
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, I think that picture was taken, I want to say February, March of 97, although I could be off on that. It could be 98. I can't remember.
Mhm.
That is one of my favorite pictures of him, though. He was
Definitely.
unique as a baby. I mean, he was very dark, had very very few markings at all. Some of the chondros will have, kind of the
Yeah.
diamond zipper pattern or other type of vertebral marks. In fact, you
Mhm.
can see some of the marks. It's interesting because some of the marks on, some chondros that are green in this picture are the blue markings on others, where his pattern seemed to be reverse of that, where the typically green markings turned out to be blue and vice versa.
Gotcha. So it's like patternless kind of,
Yeah,
patternless.
I would have probably considered him to be sort of a patternless. I mean, he
Mhm.
was definitely unique in that way compared to his litter mates.
Yeah. How did the other litter mates turn out? Was they
That was
kind of
actually
similar?
that was a good litter. I can't remember. I mean, I do have some pictures of some of the offspring from there as they grew older. And there were some decent animals, nothing as blue as him, but there were some animals out of that litter that had, some
Yeah.
high, like black spotting and, other blue highlights. And so they had quite a bit of
So
variation
is
in that litter.
this the litter right here that Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's in there somewhere. I
And
wouldn't.
what did y'all do back then? What, like that maternal incubation?
Yeah. So by this point in time, so this was in 96.
Mm-hmm.
By that point, Eugene and Trooper have sort of perfected their own method of artificial incubation, but they had talked quite a bit over the years about how tricky maternal or artificial incubation was, to a point where, they were buying these used Forma Scientific incubators, which were on the used market, $5,000 to $10,000.
Right.
And of course, I didn't have the money for that, and there really weren't any. There weren't really any reptile specific incubators at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So oddly enough, when I did this pairing, I didn't have a backup plan. So if she didn't, get on and maternally incubate, I don't know quite what I've done. Uh,
Right.
but she was a
Thank
good
God.
mom. Yeah, thank God, right? I
Thank the
mean,
Chondro gods.
yeah. I mean, I guess I would have just thrown it in a tub and put it on a rack somewhere and prayed for the best, but that probably wouldn't have turned out too well.
Right.
But I knew my best shot at getting a successful litter would have been, maternally incubating, and I'm glad I did. I mean, it was awesome because you're kind of doing it in a way that, you know, genetically and nature wise is what they're programmed to do.
Yeah. Did you
And
see the female, like, 'cause you know, usually you would see the female vibrate on the clutch and you know to warm them up and stuff. Did you see
yeah,
that?
you'd see little twitching, body twitches and such. You would also see the female when she had it nice and beehived up sometimes. Um, she would stick her nose right down through the top. And I know, you know, in conversations with Trooper, he was under the impression that they were, the females were using their heat sensors to monitor the clutch temperature. So he doesn't know, and I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, it's a plausible explanation for that behavior.
For sure, for sure. That looked like a nice clutch, you know, it looked like Galaxy, you know, Galaxy with stars and stuff, you know.
Yeah, they were all maroon, and you know, there were 20, I think 24 eggs total, and 17 hatched out. But it was awesome. It was awesome watching, you know, the whole event take place, and it was really cool, although a little nerve-wracking at times, just watching, you know, the process. You know, I would check in on her, you know, of course, daily, and you know, sometimes she would have some gap between the coils, I guess, trying to, you know, get rid of some, you know, heat. Other times she was more tightly coiled on them, and so, and when they started to hatch, she sort of moved out of the way and, you know, kind of gave them some space.
Did y'all lock them down, like lock them in a tub or something like that?
No, so the tub that she's in was one of these Rubbermaid rough totes. It was probably, I still have them downstairs. They're probably about, I don't know, 10 to 12 inches long, maybe 7 inches, 7 to 8 inches tall. And I just cut a, you know, hole in the top so she could have come and gone anytime she wanted to.
Nice. Okay. Just in case she wanted to get off the eggs, but hey.
Well, I did have you know, I had a couple later litters back when I was at the barn back in 2008, and a Roo female, as a matter of fact, decided to lay her litter right outside the nest box. So,
wow, wow, wow.
At that point, we had an incubator set up, so that was easier to manage. But, but she did a good job with that.
Yeah, and then this also a picture of, this is one of the setups with the.
Well, that was the setup. Yeah, that was the actual setup in '96. So that was a 2x2x2 Nier-de-Chaise plastic cage. On the top was a screen top with, I'd say probably like an 18-inch hole, you know, circle cut into it, with mesh put over top from the factory. And at that point in time, I don't think heat panels were, if they were invented, they weren't being used in the reptile industry at that point. Right. So we were using these ZoomEd infrared heat lamps rigged up to these microclimates, which were an early English version of a proportional thermostat, similar to the Herp stats now. But anyway, you can see where the heat lamp is sort of off to the side, off, you know, to the left a little bit. It was as far to the left as I could get it. You didn't want to really hit the nest box with direct heat. Also on the left-hand side where the pothos was about 2 to 3 inches of basically just wet sphagnum. And underneath of the cage on that same left-hand side, you can't see it in the picture, but was a heat pad. And the heat pad was set to low to try to, you know, keep, you know, maintain the humidity.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think like that kept the humidity, right, with the stannum moss in the bag, you know, the heat lamp over the top of it. So I'm pretty sure the humidity was real good in there.
Yeah, and interestingly, it seemed like you know, even if the it seemed like you had a little more wiggle room, I guess, with the parameters of humidity in a maternal setup as opposed to if you're doing, a regular incubator, like if you were doing the no substrate method, where it seems like the eggs are especially sensitive to lower humidity levels.
Right. During the maternal incubation process, like, did you see any water droplets on the eggs or anything like that?
No, in fact, it was impressed upon me pretty strongly by Trooper that, one of the keys to doing this process is that you have to maintain the internal environment dry. So inside that next box was, 2 or 3 inches of, maybe 3.5, 4 inches of completely dry sphagnum moss.
Mhm.
So there was no condensation or humidity on the inside of that box whatsoever. And there was really no condensation or humidity on the enclosure plexiglass either. So I can't remember. Do have it written down somewhere, but I don't remember exactly what the humidity was that I was reading.
That wire that's going inside the box, was that the probe?
Yeah, that's a temperature probe. And then
Mhm.
on the back left, you can see hanging was like a min-max thermometer. And then you can't see it. It's obscured by the lower rear perch there. But on the bottom of that was a hygrometer, which
Mhm.
I was taking the humidity readings from. I don't think they really had. They had digital, as you can see them hanging on the upper right of the photograph. You can see one of them has a labeled nest box on it, right in the very upper right. Um,
Right.
anyway, I don't think that they had digital hygrometers back then, or at least they didn't, not in these sort of remote probe setups.
Mhm. Gotcha. We got another picture right here. Well, we got hella pictures. Got you
Yeah,
snake room, man. That's a
yeah.
nice
So
snake room.
yeah, that's probably my best setup ever. That was a room. My wife at the time, we moved into this house and we built or finished off this part of the basement as a reptile room. And yeah, I really loved that room. It was really nice. It had a little room to it. And
Look like
um,
heaven to me.
oh, yeah, it was my sanctuary for sure.
For
Yeah,
sure.
definitely for sure. Yeah, lots of green trees in there. There were 6, of course, in those near the shade cages. And
Mhm.
then there were some too in the tub rack on the left here. You can just see just a little bit of it. And there was a few in
Okay.
these smaller growing up enclosures here on the right-hand side.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was quite busy back then.
So how many chondros you had like at one time, or animals at one time? Matter of fact.
Um, in this snake room here, probably maxed out somewhere around 80 or something like that. When I got divorced in 2007, I moved in with my nephew who had the barn,
Mhm.
which once my nephew Sean got out of it, Christian Stewart, who you may know of, he took over. But I was there for about a year, and we did all kinds of litters there. We were, well, just in the snakes that
Hold on,
I
man.
owned, that was
You said
there. I was
you
well
said
over
Christian
100.
Stewart, your nephew?
Yeah, Christian's my nephew. Yep.
I never know that. Oh my God. I feel I feel like a dumbass.
That's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
But yeah,
So yeah,
okay.
so he got into it, after Sean got into it, and Christian always had sort of a natural curiosity about animals. He was involved with breeding dogs at one point, so following the lineages and captive husbandry and such was right up his alley. So he's done quite well with them
Mm,
since then.
yeah. So who is that you holding in your hand right there?
So that was I guess what became known as the Tim Morris Blue Female. I never named any of my animals, so people started naming them for me. So yeah.
Okay, okay. Um, what's going on? What's going on, John? How you feeling, man? Oh, we also got this photo. Then we're gonna go back to the story.
Yeah, so this is Sid and Harvest. And these were not my snakes. These were actually Sean and Christian's, but that was I believe they did get some babies out of this litter once or maybe even twice. But they were a phenomenal pair. I don't remember the lineages for these guys. I know, I know one of them had, strong ties to troopers. Maybe both of them did. But that was just such an awesome pairing.
For sure, for sure.
And Sid is the male, the darker one up on the perch, and Harvest is the female.
Perch, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, those look extremely nice. Extremely
Yeah. Yeah, they were amazing looking animals.
So
this is Gordon Blue too. So I had a close friend who unfortunately was killed in a cycling accident when a car hit him from behind, and he had a Chondro collection at the time, and so basically,
brother.
Yeah, it was back in I guess it would have been back in like 2004. Probably earlier than that, probably 2002, 2003. Anyway, to help his family out, I took his collection and sold, what I could from it and raised some money for the family. And prior to that, I bought this snake from him, which was a sarong. What did he breed to that? Yeah, I can't remember. Anyway, that was the Gordon Blue one, I guess, that I had. And then I bred her to the legend male, who was the sire for Mr. Blue, and produced this girl here. So
this thing is badass, man. This thing.
Yeah, and I can't remember. I'm trying to remember what I bred her to. I know I bred her. I think I bred her to Blue Deuce at the barn when I was there, if I'm not mistaken. That would have been around that same time.
Okay. So take us to how did you, well, of course we know how y'all became good friends, you and Trooper, but how did y'all relationship progress?
Well, so I think, like I said earlier, when I volunteered at the zoo was when I was trying to make some inroads and get to know him, and then he kind of took to me a little bit. When I'm a teacher, so when I first became a teacher, I had to go to this new teacher orientation, and this was around the same time as the Breeders' Expo in Florida, and he had invited me to basically stay at his house and caretake for his collection while he was down in Florida, and that was awesome to do. And then we just kind of, I guess it just evolved from there. I mean, we just, we didn't live too far from one another. He would do these gatherings, which eventually became known as the Chondro Fests. And these were just little backyard barbecue cookouts. And, we had quite a few Chondro heads in the area. We had John Holland, who was known as Johnny Blue. He became the eventual owner of Mr. Blue for me. He bought it from me. There's Greg Stevens, who was a pretty well-known breeder up here for quite some time. This guy, Paul August, Buddy Buscemi, and several others.
Buddy, about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, did you?
At Bill House. Yeah.
Okay. So. Yeah, that's right. I guess he had a big party or something, I guess, for the ARBC. Nice. Yeah. And I was the one actually got Buddy into, breeding green trees. He was at the time working with Dumeral's monitors and some other miscellaneous snakes. In fact, we met through a mutual friend through cycling. And so I kind of got him hooked into the Chondro bug.
Hey, once you get one, you can't stop.
Yeah, it becomes, it definitely becomes a sickness, that's for sure. And, I imagine now it's got to be, even worse because, back then you primarily had Eugene Bissett, you had Trooper Walsh, you had maybe a couple of other people, but
Mhm.
now you've got, just, dozens of
A
high-end
plethora,
breeders,
yeah,
you know,
exactly. All
and
good
a lot
breeders.
of people with their different bloodlines and crazy stuff. So I'm sure it's just gone off the hook at this point.
Mhm. So you primarily work with Trooper Wash bloodline, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. I did get a really cool animal over from the Netherlands. It was there's this guy named Mark van Eisenbergen. He was from the Netherlands, and he did this Biak Wamina cross that he called, or Wamina Biak cross he called Waminiacs, and that produced a really cool litter
Everybody
of
love the one maniacs.
Waminiacs. Yeah, so he had produced a really killer litter, so we wound up doing a trade, and so I think I sent you a couple pictures of either her or the bloodline, and she produced the litter for me. So that was one outside. There was another. I can't remember the guy's first name. His last name was Mac, and he was up in Ohio. He had um, some nice stuff. Sean then was also into it. My nephew, Christian's brother, um,
Hmm.
he got some stuff from this guy Jeff Hudson up in Ohio, who had some really killer Chondro stuff too, some really high end things. So we did do some other bloodlines eventually, but we did like Eugene's and Troopers. I had a few things from Eugene as well. Um, they were one of the first to kind of maintain the
Was
the
this?
lineages. Yeah, so that's the Womaniac here,
Hmm.
which that was the female that came over from my buddy Mark, and he had a farm bred Biak and a farm bred Wamina, two great looking animals. And
Yeah.
then we bred her to Blue Deuce. Blue Deuce, of course, was a Daddy Pants blue female um, product. So that was a nice litter as well.
Nice, nice. Do you know like how any of these yeah, how the collector turned out?
Yeah, some of these turned out quite nicely, if I'm not mistaken. Trying to think, I'm sure I have some, some pictures of animals that grew older from that litter. I don't know if I had sent any. I can't remember. That was 803, so that was a 2003 litter. So I'd have to look back and see.
Yeah.
I probably could dig up some pictures of some animals that came up through that.
Hmm.
But I mean, just from the parents alone, I mean, that's, you know.
Right. And when you first got in, your first couple of years, was pedigree charts like, the end all be all?
Well, so they were a big selling point for Trooper and Eugene. And
Hmm.
Trooper was a big sort of data nut. He kept copious notes on everything he did. He had published several papers and such. Um, and I guess through he started working at National Zoo. I think it was in 1975, and through working in the zoo where they maintain stud books and things for various species, he started maintaining a um, sort of blood lineage information for the animals he was acquiring.
Hmm. Got you, got you.
And he kind of lucked out there for a while because I guess the National Zoo thought so much of him, they allowed him to sort of intermingle his private and professional collections. So some of the breedings he did at the zoo, he actually took some of those animals into his personal collection,
Nice,
which,
nice.
which nowadays you couldn't do. I mean, that was a unique thing at that particular unique time.
Got you. So we got hold up. I think I have another picture. Well, that you sent me. What was it? Oh man. Oh yeah, this right here. this pairing.
Yeah, so that's Mr. Blue back to the mom, and I believe that was in '99. So that would have been the first time we did that. We did that 2 years, and the first year was a better hatch rate than the second.
Mm-hmm. Now I see you got this shed back there, like on the court. Was that like to entice the male, or?
It may have been, um, or maybe he was in there, and just shed out, and then they started breeding.
Mhm. How
But
did y'all like? Well, how did you introduce your male to your female? Did you put the male into the female box or well enclosure, or did you put the female in?
yeah, I typically always put the male in with the female,
Hmm.
um, and just kind of put them in during the day, so they wouldn't. What's up, selective? Anyway, yeah. So I'll put them in there during the daytime so that they wouldn't be in hunting mode and accidentally take one in as a meal.
Right, right. This is a icy blue pairing. Honestly, this thing is crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting because when and I can't even remember who gave the female Tim Morris blue female the TMBF. But as you can see here, she was, when I got her from Trooper in that trade, she was green, and even here you can see, long dorsally. I mean, she's green, so she wasn't like like an Aru where she turned totally powder blue. I mean, she did, you know, change at times, like when she became gravid and such. But then she would shift back a little bit to, sort of a green on the dorsal side, and sort of
Right.
more blue on the side,
Mhm.
where Mr. Blue was just blue all the time.
Yeah, she could have more of like a foam ocean blue. I would say
Yeah.
like a foam ocean blue.
And what's
Real nice.
interesting here, so and it was a podcast I did a number of years ago, and we got into the breeding history of that girl, and I dug up, I still have the original feed records and everything for her,
Mhm.
feed, shed, and breeding. But she bred her first breeding. She was 2.5 years old.
Oh man.
So
What was the size of these, of these chondros back then?
they were big. I mean, so when I got her from Trooper, she was, I'd have to look back on my records, but I think that she was either a year and a half old or 2 years old. But by that point, she was already eating small rats.
Hmm.
Trooper was a pretty heavy feeder. Um, but she bred in the fall when she was 2.5, and laid that clutch, I guess, when she was close to 3 years old.
That thing
Not
is sick.
quite 3 years old.
So y'all strictly stayed on rats.
Well, I kept her on it because that's what she was eating when I got her.
Mhm.
Um, I think later on, with different females I mixed in, large mice or small rats. I mean, at this point, she was eating medium rats. I mean, she
Sheesh.
she
She
was a
was a big
beast.
girl.
Yeah,
So what you thinking, like what, 1600 plus or
that I mean, if I had to guess, it would probably be 16 to 2. Would be
sheesh.
would be a guess. I don't know. I mean, I never weighed the
Yeah.
adults back then. I weighed the babies, but I never weighed the adults.
Hmm. What was y'all take on that? What, like the bigger the chondro, the more eggs or something like that?
I don't know. These designer lines, I guess. They tended to have higher numbers of eggs, but they were smaller.
Hmm.
Um, when I did some like uh, pure Aru pairings, and I did a few pairings with some pure Maruk types, um, their litters tended to be smaller, like in the teens, but the eggs were much bigger.
Hmm.
Um, we often thought that the the relative clutch mass was the same. In other words, you know, the mass of the clutch relative to the mass of the female. So it was either, one scenario was a lot of small eggs or a few larger ones. And this is the Womaniac and Blue Deuce
Yeah, the
locked
blue
up.
dudes, it looked like yeah.
Yeah, and you can see. I mean, the Womaniac was just an awesome female.
Yeah.
She was also a very robust
All blue on his
animal.
belly and all that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's a girl I wish I still had.
What happened to her? Did she pass or?
Yeah, so I wound up selling her to Christian and this other guy, Paul Miles. They kind of went in together on her. I was kind of getting out of chondros at that time, and I think they managed to get one litter out of her, and then she passed for some reason. I don't remember the reason, the reason why.
All right, yeah. Jared have a question. He said, "Are you still doing any Maruki pairings?"
I wish. I haven't done any chondro pairings in quite a while, so I haven't had any adult chondros anyway in my possession for probably going on 10 years now. I had some babies here off and on from a buddy of mine who's up in New York, and he has bred some chondros on an exhibit up at the Ithaca Science Center, and he sent some babies down for me to help get started.
Mm-hmm. So what was walk us through like what the shows was like back then? Did they were there a lot of chondros there or what? How did the
It depended. So it depended on the show, I guess, and depended on who was there. In order to get like chondros from like Trooper Eugene, you almost always had to go down to the Breeders' Expo and while it was in Orlando at that particular time, and then shifted over to Daytona Beach. But then around, I would say probably the mid '90s is when a lot of a lot of these farm bred animals were coming in. A lot of people were getting a hold of those and then just sort of selling them out for $250, $350, somewhere in that ballpark.
were they coming from Bushmaster?
Well, I think some of them were, but some of them were coming from other sources because you could tell that they were relatively fresh hatchlings. Some of them probably hadn't even eaten yet. And if, based on my recollection now, a lot of people who took that road were people just getting into chondros, and I think a lot of them just died. Because I remember when I got into it in '92, Eugene and Trooper pretty much established a sort of a baseline price of $750 for babies. And they were for.
I wish that it was the same now.
Well, so if you wanted something a little more, special, the prices did go up from there. But for many of their, many of their litters, so $750 was the going price. But then when these, farmed animals or just wild hatchlings, I don't know what they were coming in. Like I said, they were kind of blowing them out at $250, $350 each. But they were sold basically as non-feeders. But
nobody ain't really give a care back then, a $350,
Well, that was the mentality. And it did actually for a little while kind of hurt, Eugene and Trooper's market, I guess, because some people were like, hey, man, I could get 3 of these things for the price of 1 of yours. And, where Trooper and Eugene would, advertise that, they don't sell any animal unless they've eaten at least, a dozen times and have shed, 2, 3 times, and are healthy and feeding on site. But these other ones were just, they look good now, but, and I guess in skilled hands, they would have been probably fine. But, I know some of the people who did buy them weren't, um, weren't really chondro people at the time. They were just getting into it.
Yeah. Jerry say, I remember when he got his first calico Maruki,
Yeah.
and it was 650 shipped in
650 shipped.
2013.
Yeah.
Oh man. Hey, what a time. I think I just graduated high school probably like 2 years ago or something like that.
Yeah. Prior to that.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, we got this picture right here. And
Yeah. So that was taken in 93, I think. 90. Yeah, it was 93, I think that was.
mhm.
And that was Trooper and Eugene's setup. Ophiological Services was the name of their little collaborative business they had.
Man, they had some chondros back then to take to.
Yeah, they had quite a bit, and they had more than that photo captured.
Mhm.
Yeah, they had quite a bit.
That,
But they
that,
always
that,
did a nice job with presenting them. Each one of these little containers had like, a couple like little leaves of pothos in it and whatnot. And yeah.
yeah. Okay. So like, what were you doing at the show? Just taking in knowledge, helping at the show and stuff?
Pretty much. I mean, at the time, that show, when this show was going on, wait a minute, did I just cut my camera off?
Yeah, yeah, we got you.
Yeah, I got you. When this show was going on, this was before the NARBC and, some of the other, big shows. And so this was like the show. So
Nice.
it became sort of a, summertime ritual to drive down there. And of course, down in Florida, we would stop by Crutchfield's and, some of the other cool places down there that, if you want to see some really, cool herps of any type, that's where you would go.
Right. Nice, man. What a time to be alive back then.
Yeah, it was kind of fun, man. I mean, it was, I struggle sometimes with the way things are nowadays, because back then you sort of had to wait to see some really cool stuff, and
Yeah.
nowadays I think where, like social media and the internet and everything like that makes things easy to seek and find, but at the
Mhm.
same time, I think sometimes it sort of deadens your senses to things that are
Yeah,
really cool. I mean, sometimes you can just scroll right by something where 20 years ago you would have seen once and you would have been blown away, and
right.
um,
Like Calico Jr. or Computer Chondro and things like that, and
mhm,
Mr. Blue, you
right,
know.
right.
Um,
I mean, only people in this region even knew, of those animals, so.
for sure, man. Like, um, I think, um, I guess the potency, I would say, of lineages and all that, the blood, I think is getting thinner, and the blood isn't as potent as it was back then, and that's why you don't have those vibrant animals and like this right here. You don't see nothing really like that no more. You
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've seen some really cool stuff. I mean, there's some collections out there. I guess Dave D, Tommy Budway,
oh yeah,
James Opdahl. I mean, just some of the stuff that they produce, Christian, I mean, are just unreal. John Irby.
well, it's select few. I say it's select few. You have to go look in their collection and all that stuff. Go look at it
Yeah,
because
and Bill Stiegel, Buddy Buscemi.
yeah,
I mean, there's quite a few out there, that have some really, remarkable things. I mean, I mean, I tell people all the time. I mean, I just kind of lucked out, to be honest. I mean, um, the pairing that produced Mr. Blue were the only two green trees I had at the time.
nice. Nice.
But I
So
shopped in the right place.
do you ever think about getting back in?
I've kind of thought about it from time to time, but
I
you
think the community wants you back, man.
know, yeah. I mean, it. I'm not ruling it out by any means. Although it's kind of an expensive game to get back into at this point. Um,
I'm
but
pretty sure someone can hook you up. I'm pretty sure.
oh, I'm sure
You
I could
know.
hit up some people and guilt them into giving me some really nice stuff. You know, um,
Go and trick them. Hey, go ahead, talk that talk.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, I love the snakes. I really do. I guess my problem is, I kind of see different things, and that draws my attention to in different directions. And and the other thing is too, I guess, as things sort of changed up here, Trooper got out of it, due to health reasons, and Greg Stevens got out of it, and several people locally just sort of, got out of the chondros. And we used to have a lot of, really fun gatherings and such, just locally. And of course, it took a while for that to ramp back up. I mean, when I got out of it, there wasn't as much. I mean, there were people producing them, but there were no, there for a while, there wasn't any like, Bill Stiegel having, 100 people over to kind of have like a Chondro Fest of sorts, you know what I mean? So we had a lot of that going on here that kind of continued, to stoke the fire and everything.
Where did most of the TW Blue Line stuff go to?
I think a lot of it went to Greg Maxwell when he bought up a lot of Trooper's best stuff back in 2002, maybe even a little earlier than that. I can't remember. I remember the show where he flipped this big wad of cash at Trooper and bought up several things. At the time, Greg was mainly, I think, into boas or something. He was he created his own business called what was it called, Cage Master, and they made a bunch of melamine cages, really nice stuff. And then from there, he just kind of, I guess, somewhere Chondros piqued his interest, and he dove in pretty hard with them.
All right.
So I'd say a lot of them went there, but I see some of the influences and from just some of the people I know and still stay in touch with that are involved with it. They still have some things that at least have some tie to one of the bloodlines or the other.
Right. I don't know. I need to look back in these pedigrees and track down, true Trooper Wash Blue Line stuff, and really dial in with that.
Yeah, and there's other blue lines I think that have been introduced, and other sort of origins for some other bloodlines that have produced some high blue things.
Yeah.
I've been urging Trooper to dig into the boxes. He's got several boxes in his basement of old photographs and whatever. So one of these weekends I get down there, we're going to go through those with the hopes of maybe uncovering some some images of some of the other animals that are kind of more famously in some of these lineages that there are no photographs for them at this point.
Right.
So hopefully fill in some of those gaps.
Yeah. I told you, hey, just hit me up whenever you go, and I'll meet you there, and hey, we'll make it happen. I get these photos out to the people that need them, and so we can, start building those lineages and pedigrees up, and fill in what's missing.
Yeah, I mean, if there's some people doing some of that stuff. I've had some people contact me, over a couple of guys, I guess, contact me in the last year looking for, images for animals that are part of lineages of animals they have, and kind of doing photo lineages where they're attaching, photos with the different animals in there. And I've given them what I have, but there, like I said, several animals that are, show up in quite a few of, the lineages from Trooper and Eugene, for which there aren't any photographs currently circulating. So,
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, we got this incubation, like how incubation was back in, I guess, the 90s.
yeah, this was actually early 2000s. So
Oh,
this was an AV incubator, which was a guy in Colorado who made incubators for, I think he started with birds and then started making, I think in collaboration with Trooper, these chondro incubators out of igloo coolers. And
so was this like one of the first like prototypes for incubation?
well, I guess on a broader level,
Yeah.
I guess for those of us that couldn't afford the Forma Scientific incubators, these were the next best thing. He had two different sizes, and they worked really well, actually. Once you got them, tuned in. And one of the ones that was the smaller version of this that actually was DC capable, so you could plug it into a cigarette lighter in your car and
Just drive it around.
well, yeah. I mean, if you had to transport,
Yeah.
eggs or just something you need to maintain, a certain temperature on. Still have one of those.
So y'all just left the eggs like that, just clustered up, the clutches.
Well, they were all separated out of the clutch, so they were just piled up. So they weren't physically attached.
Okay.
Like they weren't bonded to each other. They were,
Mhm.
they were loose. We just kind of, stacked them up in deli cups.
Mhm.
I mean,
And
people did different things.
okay. Well, do you think this creates more heat though?
Could
Yeah,
have actually. This turned out to be a really good hatch for me, as they were. So
okay.
yeah.
Nice. Let me see
And then
what.
the wire coming out in the middle, going in through the right hand side of that um, egg box was a thermocouple. So it was a temperature reading device that read surface temperatures, which was used to kind of monitor the the egg temperature, not the ambient.
Got you. So we got this right here as well. One of your pairings, Lablache pairing.
Yeah, so that produced an animal that the guy down in Texas, guy Brent, no, Brooke Bernstein, what's his name? Can't remember. He's down in Texas anyway. There was a super nice female produced out of this pairing that he bought. He called it Snowflake, and I think he had some litters through the barn, through Christian with that particular animal.
That
But the
thing is
animal on the right was a product of a pairing I did with another female I got from Trooper, paired to the Legend male, and then the animal on the left was a animal produced by this guy named Gary Sipperly. He was out in California. He had a nice line of somewhat high yellow chondros. This one wasn't as much on the high yellow line, but had a lot of the flowers or blotches on it.
yeah.
So we thought it would be a good pairing, and turned out to be just that. Yeah, that was a cool.
Oh,
That
for
was a cool
sure,
thing.
man. Hey, nice colors, all that. I mean, you don't really. Hey.
Yeah, I don't know if you see a lot of these. I mean, I haven't. I've seen a lot of really cool chondros over the last several years. A lot of nice blue stuff, a lot of calico type stuff, a lot of multicolored things, but I've not really seen any that I can recall. I'm sure they got to be out there, but I haven't seen any really that have sort of this high, sort of white blotching.
Yeah. It's only like a few, and then like most of the time the rules have the big flowers,
Mm.
blotchy spot, you know. So um I see, yeah, with this right here, this thing is real hormonal blue.
Yeah, so that's I believe that is the Gordon Blue 2 female, I think.
Mhm.
That was in 2008 when I was at the barn. That was probably bred, if I remember correctly, that might have been the one we bred to Azor, which was Mr. Blue back to mom male that wasn't really the best breeder, but he did produce this clutch, and I'm thinking almost every egg crashed out of this except for one or two.
Mhm.
Um, but we did manage to get, I think, two animals out of that. And I think the one, if I remember right, was a real screamer.
Right. Then one more little last picture. This one of
Yeah,
my favorites. Yeah.
yeah. So that was what was that? I sent that to you, and let me see if I can look back through my.
The legend, so is the 2708.
Okay, so that was probably the Gordon Blue Legend
Mm-hmm.
pairing I did, um, which might have been that female in the previous picture. So this was one of the animals that came out of that. There was another one that was, um, decently blue out of that litter too.
Yeah. I was trying to see any more pictures, but we have a whole bunch of pictures. But hey, but it's crazy to look at older pictures and see how far we came with even with the whole look of the animal,
Mm-hmm.
the whole health, because now we got supplements and all that stuff to help with the look of the animals and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Calcium pills or whatever you do for calcium and stuff to get
So,
done.
so people are supplementing diets now. Is that
Yeah, they'll inject like calcium in the rodent
okay?
or something like that, just to, I guess, give it what it needs and all that stuff. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's not like every feeding thing. It's more like if you see them looking a little down, or you don't look like you normally look, try to get them a little calcium to build them up.
Gotcha.
Hmm. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, like, how did y'all deal with problem feeders back then?
Yeah, just got him, really worked up and try to get him, to reflex feed. The only thing that really worked for me scenting wise back then was chick feathers.
Yeah.
I tried pureeing lizards and um, I tried Trooper had good luck with he would bring a chick home from the zoo and
Mhm.
basically a live chick and then kill it and then cut it open and then dip the pinkies right into the body cavity.
Yeah.
And he had good luck with that. I never did, but
Mhm. Yeah, I find like when I get my neos, because sometimes I get my neos and they only like maybe a few weeks old or a few months old, you still kind of establishing like a little bit.
mm-hmm.
With my problem feeders, I just get some chicken gizzard, little container, dip the rodent in there, and then give it. Yeah.
And they like that, huh? That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
So instead of giving them actual chicken gizzards or chicken livers, I just dip the rodent into the juice
Right.
and give it right to
That's
them.
cool.
Yeah. So they still have the feathers and the bone because they need that. They can't just survive off of chicken gizzards. You know. So,
Yeah, but it's interesting the scent, sometimes some odd,
mhm.
scents somehow, just even if they're not native to their region or part of their native diet or natural diet, sometimes some different scents, can get them feeding.
Hmm. Hey, in chat, man, like if y'all want any chondro history, all you have to go to, was it what website did you give me again, Tim? I forgot. You gave it to me a
Well,
while ago.
well, Buddy Buscemi has
Yeah.
GTP Keeper.
Mm-hmm.
Several years back, I scanned in several magazine articles, different ones from back in the 90s and early 2000, as well as many of Trooper's papers that can be found. He's got a resources section to his website that has a lot of good information there.
Yeah, I'm trying to put the link.
Yeah, unfortunately, it comes up for me sometimes as an untrusted link, and you have to
Mess with
bypass
it a
it.
little
I'm
bit.
not sure what the deal is with that, but it's safe and virus free. But some reason it just gets flagged.
Yeah, oh, here you go. Okay, I got it. I'm gonna put it in the chat so people so people can go look at it. It's like history on history, y'all, honestly.
Yeah, it's some great stuff there. I mean, the magazine articles are all scanned in color.
Mhm.
And then, of course, some of the papers. I mean, the one paper I think of Troopers in there is from a talk he gave in 1982 at a Herp symposium.
Mhm. So y'all just go ahead, screenshot that link and go to it. I promise you, you will never get bored. It's going to at least take you about 2 years to read everything because
Yeah.
it's so much information in there, literally.
Well, it's just some cool history, some cool pictures, and yeah.
Definitely, man. But we coming up on the end of the episode, and people want to know, when you gonna get back in. It's not if, it's just when. At this point, at this point.
Yeah, I'll throw my address on the comments there. You can mail me your stubborn feeders, and I'll start a collection with that.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Hey, don't say that now, because people will really do that. People would really do that. I'm like, oh man, we got the legend coming back. Oh yeah, let me go ahead and I know what he doing. Let me go ahead and send him something.
I don't know, man. I'm sure I'd learn a lot from you guys because it had just been so long, and honestly, a lot of my early moves were just out of just these were the only animals I had. You know what I mean? So, I mean, after a while, when we started establishing the blue line, then we certainly, had specific pairings in mind and things of that nature. But that wasn't until we got around the end of the 90s into the early 2000s. But some of the stuff that I just see going on now is just ridiculous.
Yeah, the John Irby stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's just crazy. If I get my hands on some of that stuff, it's a good day. That means I'm living life very well if I get my hands on some of that stuff.
Right.
Socrates down in Florida.
Oh yeah, him too.
Yeah, I got some good stuff. Of course, Bill. We got Marshall over there.
Yeah.
Over there with the albino.
Marshall's still going at it.
Yeah.
And he goes way back to the times that I was involved with it.
Mm-hmm. So, hey, man, we got a lot of good people, a lot of good breeders out here, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones out there, yeah.
A lot of them that's informational, that's going to take care of you if even if you don't buy from them, you could just ask them questions, and I'm pretty sure they're going to point you in the right direction, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these, yeah. But yeah, man. Anything you want to say to the chat before we leave?
Yeah, it's been fun hanging out, reminiscing about the Chondro days. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It was
man.
It was a great time, and still continues to be. And it's really awesome to see that sort of the legacy that, like Trooper and some of the other guys back in the 70s, Carl Switek and such, that the legacy of their chondros is still moving forward. Just as a quick aside, one of the animals I was doing research on for this guy up in Canada, can't remember his name, stumbled onto an interesting tidbit. There was an animal in, I think it's Old Yeller's lineage. I don't know how much that lineage is still out there, but there was the founding female that was the damned Old Yeller. She was a wild caught animal. Turns out that she was acquired by Trooper at the zoo from the Indianapolis Zoo back in like 1982 or probably 1982 or somewhere back in there. Anyway, that female was acquired from the Indianapolis Zoo from Sherman Mitten, who was a legendary herpetologist. And he had gotten it from some U.S. sailor, and it's written exactly like that on the zoo's accession information record they have. I've got a copy of the National Zoo's Chondro record, which goes back to like 1980. Every animal they ever acquired, produced, etc., up to about I don't know when it cuts off, maybe early 2000s. It's quite a few pages.
Now we got a super chat. Appreciate that, Tom. Appreciate that, brothers. Hey, y'all don't know Tom. He created a website for Chondro people, the Chondro Hub. And every Thursday we get on there. Every Thursday night we just talk about, maybe blue lineages, good debates, spray myths, inbreeding. We just talk about a whole lot of things. Usually it'd be me, Tommy, I believe Tim as well. It's another Tim. Sony. We have Sony on there. And then it's like one more person, and we just talk every weekend about Chondro stuff, whatever come in the Chondro community.
That's cool. Yeah, way to go with that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that helped us a lot back in the day too. There was, I guess, Craig Maxwell had started the Chondro Forum.
Yeah. And
then shortly thereafter, when that died down, there was a guy named Tim Schroeder who started up MVF, which is Morelia Viridis Forum, one of the first ones. And so they were great places to kind of, share information and get,
so I think that'd be nice with the Chondro Hub, just putting lineages on the website and all that stuff, putting pedigrees on the website. So it's easier to find pedigrees if you don't have it,
Right.
Yeah.
And you can let everybody know too. I mean, if they do happen to have any animals with any of the bloodlines and lineages that go back through Trooper Eugene stuff, that if they need information or maybe some pictures, I'm always happy to dig into whatever I have as far as resources are concerned to help out.
You know what I'm saying? Before you go, man, we got to do this right here, man. Hey, man, the old man, he ain't totally out the hobby yet. He just hashed out a crazy nice clutch. I like that.
Those are the Aurora house snakes. They're not very common, but hopefully I'll make them a little more common. But that's my new green snake.
Yeah, that thing nice. I like the orange on the dorsal.
Yeah, they're cool.
Real vibrant. How big do they get?
Probably just under like the size of a corn snake.
Oh, okay, not that big at all.
Yeah. No, not that big at all. Like I said, the
How,
babies were tiny little things, 5 grams.
yeah. How long does it take them to get like sexually matured?
These guys, it takes a little longer. I think I want to say I don't have a whole lot of experience with them right at the moment, but I would say somewhere, 4 to 5 years.
Okay, so almost about same as a chondro.
Yeah, yeah. But I've got a variety of different things. I mean, I've got these guys, the annulated tree boas. I don't know if I send you a picture of that. Here, I'll send you. This is my new love, I guess, as far as arboreal boids are concerned.
Hey,
Um,
nothing wrong with that, man.
yeah, well, here you go. So this will be some things you can leave some folks with. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, these guys are pretty impressive. And in fact, I'll show you if I can find it. A pairing that actually, so speaking of Trooper, I've been helping him kind of get into a couple of animals and
Oh my God, these
help
things.
maintain them.
Is this
Yeah, those are annulated tree boas.
yo?
And here's a female that we're breeding this year. Um,
Yeah, I need me one of these.
yeah, you do. They're awesome, man. They are incredible animals. They're friendly. Um,
What's the price point on some of these?
the red ones I think I sold for around $1,200. But I just sent you a picture of the female, and the male is the one I'm holding.
Mhm.
That's the pairing that's going down this fall down at Troopers. So with a little luck, he'll have a litter of snakes born there that he hasn't had in quite a long time.
Definitely. Let me see if I can pull these up. Right.
Yeah,
Hey,
full a few
we
of
got a
those.
special treat for y'all, man. We got a special treat. Let me see if I can pull these
So I'm
up.
not done with the arboreal snakes yet. These are just the new ones that I've been dealing with. They're, obviously not as diverse color-wise as the green trees are, but they're pretty phenomenal.
I love them. This thing is crazy.
Yeah, that's a a juvenile annulated, and they're related to the Amazon tree boas, but their personalities couldn't be farther from it. I mean, they're dog tame. I mean, right from the birth.
Mm-hmm. Oh man.
So, and they primarily come in sort of this red orange phase and like a charcoal brown color.
Yeah. So the question with the charcoal brown do it go like through an OCC?
No, they will lighten up excuse me, they'll lighten up a little bit, but they don't completely change.
Okay, so this is
Like,
what we talking about, y'all, right here.
yeah, so like this particular animal is a little more brown now, so they start off, sort of with this like darker charcoal type color,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll lighten up as they get older.
Nice. Do you have like any of these available now?
No, I wish I did. Like I said, the last 2 pictures I sent you are a pairing that Trooper and I are going to put together this fall.
Yeah, one moment. I'm bringing it up right now. So this is the female right here.
Yeah, and that's a female that I produced. If it's yeah, that one right there. Yeah, that's a female I produced back in 2017.
Mm-hmm. Man, this thing is nice. I like the pink around it.
Yeah, and it's funny because they will, they'll the colors will sort of shift around a little bit from day to day. And then the male was that last picture I sent. That's the one we're going to pair up to this girl here.
God damn it, Tim, what you got me into, man? I'm supposed to stop. I'm supposed to stop.
You can't stop until you get a couple of these guys. They really are, man. They are so freaking nice. I mean, they're just,
I think it's nice.
and they feed easy. You don't have any prolapse issues.
Mhm.
You don't have to like get crazy with the feeding. They just take thawed fuzzies right from the start.
If I'm not mistaken, maybe Mark Hager working with these two.
Yeah, I don't know. I know Ian Bessel has some. He bought a male from me several years ago.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, these things are amazing.
Yeah, so I still got a few nice things.
Yeah, got you. But thank you, man. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. Where can people reach you at? Well, it's gonna be in the description anyways, but still.
Yeah, well, you have, I guess, my email address, or through Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And shit, I don't even care if people text me, but you just might have to put what it's in reference to, because all the spam stuff you get these days.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm gonna put you backstage real quick, and then we'll just talk it out from there. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Tim Morris, man. Episode 49, Tim Morris, man. Thank you again.
Yeah, man. Anytime.
Yeah. What is going on, man? What's going on, Chondro fam? Hey, Tim, he threw us for a little loophole right there with those other arboreal tree snakes. So I might be looking into getting some maybe next year, maybe like 1 or 2 next year, man. It'd be cool addition to all the chondros and everything else I got going on. Still finna put something in that big ass. I think it's a 20-foot. I don't know how big this thing is, man. Yeah. Got my boy Jordan Harlan, Reptiles. Got to get in the enclosure soon. Me and Jordan, we didn't get to talk, man, that much at the NARBC, but we got some things planned or whatnot. But thank y'all again for tuning in for another Monday night Chondro Corner, episode 49. Here with Tim Morris. You know what I'm saying? Another fucking legend. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to cuss so much, but another legend or whatnot. And hey man, good night, y'all. Good night.
Chondro Corner, where we rise and grow. Twist and turn, let the passion flow. Chondro Corner, watch the future shine. Every scale a story, one of a kind.
From the shadows we move, striking out bright. In every twist we find the light. Breeding the best, gotta have patience in this game. Chondro Corner, where we make our name. Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner.